Startup ecosystem, what the idea is that you have to learn how to pitch your idea clearly and concisely. And once you learn how to do that, then you can bring in all the stakeholders and you can get into programs that'll help you and train you on how to build it. But that first step is you have to design a business model that is desirable.
When I initially moved back to Pensacola, I had a meeting with Lloyd. Lloyd invited me for breakfast and I was telling him, man, I still have an idea for the entertainment industry. This is what I wanted to do. He was like, all right, I got Startup on the Blocks. So I need you to start coming to Startup on the Blocks and get a little more information on how to work through the tech ecosystem and take your idea and we'll get you where you need to go. My company is called The Know, is an app that is streamlining business for the entertainment industry. Yeah, so if you're a musician, what you would do is pretty much jump on the platform, you'll create a profile, but the way we created the profile is pretty much a cleaner way. So now if they want more information about you, you'll connect your social media platforms, your streaming platforms, and that way they can go directly to it. What we also have included is your calendar. So pretty much you can set your days, you can set your price for your days and automate your booking. So initially talking to Lloyd, my idea was all here, it was there, it was over here, it was over there. It was like, all right, Quinn, I get it. You got a lot that you want to do, but we need you to bring it in just a little bit and then work on your pitch, your story, and how you're going to bring it full circle to get people to understand what you're trying to create.
Most of the programs here wasn't inclusive, and so we said we'll focus on helping founders of color. We also start at the beginning of the thing, at the idea stage, whereas a lot of the programs you see here locally, they start after you're up, and that's not very efficient unless if you don't have a lot of money, you can't recover from your mistakes. And the lean startup system, it actually helps you make mistakes faster before you spend a lot of money. You don't actually start building anything until you got customer buy-in.
There was a need for small businesses to bring brand awareness to their business. I see there's a lot of makers and bakers that they're making all of these goodies and these products, but they can't market it, they can't sell it at the same time, and there needs to be kind of like that middleman, that middle person to help bring economic growth to some of the small businesses in Pensacola. So Taste of Pensacola, I came up with that idea during the pandemic when I saw things at that time that Amazon couldn't fulfill. They didn't even have those products, but the local people in the community, they did. And so there was a ton of people coming out saying, hey, I make masks. I'm like, wow, this is amazing, all the local people here that are just as talented that can actually make those products. And so I wanted to kind of showcase who they were. So with Taste of Pensacola, our income streams, we have several of them. We have the corporate America, we do corporate gifting, just regular consumers, different Pensacola natives that don't live here that want to purchase our boxes, like a taste of weddings, distribution. So we also do bulk sales. So for a private airline, if they want some local snacks and goodies on their passenger flights, they will come to Taste of Pensacola and we will source their vendors here locally, and we'll give a small business owner an opportunity to have reoccurring monthly sales. I've always had a really big vision for Taste of Pensacola. I knew that it could go beyond just local. I know that maybe other communities could possibly use the same platform that I'm trying to build. And I always have these big visions, but I never know how to even get there. Where do I start? I know it's more than, there's a lot of technical things behind it. I know there's a lot of research, but that connection, I never had it until, thankfully, I met and was introduced to Startups on the Blocks and was able to just learn more about how to grow it in terms of data. Things I just never thought about, framework, words like traction. There's a lot of things that I just did not know about and language that I need to know in order to get funding for my business. There's just a lot that I didn't know.
I would go to the stores and look online. They didn't have a wide variety of natural hair products about 8 years ago. And the ones that they did have, the ingredients, it would say that they were all natural. And when I would research the ingredients, a lot of the ingredients were not natural. I make everything, my shampoo, conditioner, I have an oil that I make, and I have 2 different separate butters. Like I had some people who were completely bald and grew their hair. It's about giving women their confidence back in their hair. I have this salon and then I have a second salon, and I have my products in about 5 beauty supply stores. So I need a manufacturer to keep up with the demand at this point. Startup on the Blocks has helped my business grow, send me to different people. I'm able to do different pitch competitions to apply for grants in the community for small businesses. Lloyd's a really good person to connect with. He has a lot of resources here in the community that can help small businesses grow. If you have a product out there and you're trying to go big time, he's the person that you would want to meet with.
So it's really important to have some type of support because 9 times out of 10, most founders start out on their own. And to have somebody that has an idea of how the ecosystem works and is able to tap into other resources and bring back to the community, and that pretty much has encountered some of the roadblocks or going through the same roadblocks that we're currently going through and understands where you're at, your culture and how you respond to things, is a big help because you don't really have too many people that have access to what we have access to here in the community. And a lot of people believe that you have to leave and go to bigger cities to do the things that we're doing here. But I mean, it's one thing to have exposure, but you have to actually know it's here in the community in order to take advantage of the resources. So I get approached and I talk to friends all the time that wants to either start an idea or hear that I'm actually doing the app and wants to know more information about how are you doing it or what's the process, what's the path. I'm like, man, we have somebody here, Startup on the Blocks, Lloyd Richard. And Lloyd is here, he's a great resource to the community and to founders that's trying to learn the ecosystem. So join Startup on the Blocks.
Welcome. How's everybody? Welcome to Startup on the Blocks. We're looking forward to tonight's session, and Vince should be here any minute now. So we're going to get started by thanking our sponsors. We couldn't do all this without them, and so shout out to Florida Power and Light, Startup Science, Blacks in Technology Foundation, the Innisfree Hotel, Residence Bank. They're a new sponsor. They just came on board this year. We're excited about them with their support. The First Bank, Bantucola is our streaming partner, and Collab is one of our. They support our pitch competitions, and both Pensacola Chamber and the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber supports us. So we're excited, all the support, and we're expecting a lot more support from these from our folks out there. Hey Vince, how are you?
Hey Lloyd, doing good. Just had to do one of those lean canvas diagnostics.
Oh, okay. It was running a little over there.
Yep.
How was it?
It went good. Definitely very interesting. It was with the person from mydatejar.com, like dating tips. And yeah, they have a really strong business. They just needed some advice around like how to hone in on like going from marketing sales to success and bringing their business more from B2C to actually transitioning it to B2B.
Fantastic. And so had you ever had to do anything like that before? Have you been working with founders before?
Yeah, so we actually work with quite a few Drexel students. A lot of the entrepreneurs, kids from Drexel actually come over. They show us like their business models. Because we actually run a game studio based in Philadelphia, we get a lot of kids who are like, hey, I want to run a game studio. Look at my business model. What are you thinking? So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Let's go ahead and get all this intro stuff out of the way. Why don't you take a minute just to do like a little minute introduction, and then we'll come back and go into a little bit more detail.
Okay, awesome. So, hi, I'm Vince Quarles. I'm the CEO of Deviancy Tech LLC. We're a Philly-based digital media studio. Back before 2022, we were focused on making inclusive games for diverse gamers, leaning towards racially, sexually, and gender diverse gamers. During that time period, we partnered with Microsoft for our first game, the Monochrome RPG. We also have 2 other partners that are going to help bring the game to PlayStation and Switch as we get further into 2023 or early 2024. And then over 2022, we found more opportunity as we expanded our reach, actually transitioning and pivoting towards more of a branding studio. So now what we do is essentially make logos, social media assets, websites, all the way up to metaverses for our clientele. More recently, we've actually been exploring green screen technology.
Wow, that's a lot, Vince. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. I guess week after next, we got Phil Fink coming on. He's down in the Tampa area, so we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say and what's his journey been like. I want to remind everybody that the COH program is next week. they are on the 14th. They're having their intro session to kind of get you up to speed on what this next cohort is going to be about. So check that out. Michelle was on last week and had a bunch of good information about that. I believe that this particular event is in our opportunity database, and CEOH program is a great 10-week program to learn a lot of the basics about running a company. Yes, and so Vince, I know you're familiar with this chart. Yeah, and so what we when we work with founders with our Startup on the Blocks program, and leveraging the lean stack program, we try to let founders know they have to go through this journey, and it's just go through these phases, and if they do that, they have a great chance of making to product market fit over here in this area right here. And so that's what we want to help guide founders through this journey. But the first part of that is just making sure they know how to pitch their idea clearly and concisely. And so it starts off with the founder's mindset and learning the skills and practices of the trade. And then once you do that, you can get access to some of the stuff in the ecosystem. Vince, do the startups you've been working with, do they kind of leverage the ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things about like being a college student that gets like a little ethereal sometimes, where you're like, how much of an ecosystem does the college have versus like how much of an ecosystem is there in like the quote real world, right? Yeah. So that's what we try to do with like our interns, is really be that bridge into bigger and broader opportunities outside of just like the college ecosystem. But yeah, I think it really depends on like the founder. I usually find that like if you go to college, you're usually less in the actual startup ecosystem, unless your school happens to be really in the ecosystem. And then what happens is as you graduate or as you start working on your business, you really start finding how to get into the ecosystem more and more. One of my favorite entry points, just more organically, is indiehackers.com. It's just a bunch of like online, very, very early stage startups and different founders talking about the processes, the tools and techniques that are working for them. So it's a really great way to just find very early friends within the startup ecosystem and start building an early following to grow all the way to like a product hunt launch, a Kickstarter launch, and then start applying to more of like the Y Combinator and more traditional ecosystems.
Okay, so what was that website again?
So that's indiehackers.com.
Indiehackers.com. So yeah, we'll make sure we get that posted, so folks can check that out. So, and you say it actually does what for the founder?
So if you go back like one slide, I believe.
Okay. Let's see.
So like from an ecosystem sense, in my mind, Indie Hackers is one of the best resources for when you're before problem solution fit or going through problem solution fit. As an example, you might have heard of like crossing the chasm, where you have innovators and early adopters versus like the early majority and the late majority. So essentially, you have mainstream platforms, right? Like Twitter, Instagram, and they're all like super mainstream where people are just like, I use this every day. But then you have more niche communities, and that's actually where you find more of these innovators and early adopters who would be willing to use an earlier stage technology because they understand the troubles of building a tech, and they're also used to employing new technologies. So they're okay with a few bugs too. So that's why I highly recommend Indie Hackers when you're early in the startup journey. And then over time, you can switch to more mainstream platforms. But also in general, any communities where your potential users would be at. So like certain subreddits or like Discord communities, those are also really, really good for one, validating your idea, and then two, validating your app or product once you start working on it.
Fantastic. Those are a bunch of good gems. So I'm excited to have you share a lot of these tips for founders here. Okay, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, and so this is our playbook we came up with when we got started. We didn't have all these training tools and everything in-house, so we just had people go listen to Sam Altman, who's now the CEO of OpenAI, and having a lot of fun with the GPT. But that was the way to get that, understand what the journey is like, and getting the mindset. And of course, the leanstack.com startup school. So did you all steer any of your students towards the startup school stuff?
Yeah, so in general, when people ask us for like very early stage resources, we generally recommend like Startup School, Startup Dev Kit. My favorite YouTuber for like go to market strategy and like very early business model design is TK Cater, Kader, and he talks about how to like one, set up your ideal customer profile. Two,
Mm-hmm.
do more like channel research so that you can align your ideal customer profile to where you're actually marketing. And then
Okay.
three, do continuous marketing through experimentation so that you're not just being like, oh, let me post and see what happens. You're a little bit more like, all right, I want 10 emails. I'm going to make 5 posts here, 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 and here. And then if I don't get the 10 emails, I'll do something else. Or if I do get the 10 emails, I'll continue with what's happening.
Okay. All righty. So we're definitely going to share some of these tips that you're making here, because every founder, some like different approaches, and so it sounds like a lot of the ones you're talking about here are really, really good. And so, what about this idea of creating profiles on sites like F Success?
Yeah, so at least what I find is that that's a little bit closer to like the more majority or mainstream, because
Uh-huh.
really, like, what's the point of that website, right? It's usually because you're joining a program or you're
Yeah.
looking for an investor. So I would say, like, if you're joining a very, very early program, websites like
Mhm.
that are super great. But in general, I feel like the programs on there are looking for something a little bit further along, not
Okay.
counting like awesome programs like Kukua, right?
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Sounds good. And the startup community, of course, that's a no-brainer. Just participating in whatever startup stuff does that.
Yeah, I do want to highlight, especially number 5. I know there's not a link on it, but I
Yeah.
do have to say, when we went to go increase our revenue, I was literally doing LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I was just kind of going through like owners and other founders. Over time, we found that like going towards more media-driven founders would work. And then by the end of doing my optimization, I actually figured out that for us, we're located in Philly. Literally finding businesses in Philly is really what helped drive our revenue very
Okay.
quickly, because people who are further away, they just want to do more research versus people who
Gotcha.
are in your area and you can just go meet them.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I think that was a really good tip there at LinkedIn Navigator. So did you leverage any startup programs to actually get access to LinkedIn Navigator, like Microsoft for startups or anything like that?
So I don't think we used any programs, but I do know quite a few do give like a few months or a few in-mail credits at least. And then you don't even need like full Sales Navigator, because that costs over $100 per month. You could get
Hmm.
away with just like to start a free LinkedIn account. LinkedIn will let
Yeah.
you know if you like get rate limited. And then once you
Okay.
start getting rate limited for a free account, I think they have a premium account for like $75 a month. And you don't need to
Mhm.
go all Sales Navigator, because LinkedIn search is strong enough where you can search by like industry, title, and also location.
Yes. And so the neat thing right now, with the new Microsoft for Startup program, it's the LinkedIn Navigator is included in there for a period of time. I'm not sure how long, if it's 6 months, a year, or whatever, but at least that's a good deal to get started.
Yeah, so highly recommend people use that, because Sales Navigator, especially if you're like B2B, business to business sales, it can really drive
Mhm.
revenue.
Gotcha. Fantastic. So let's see. So yeah, this Vince, this is our approach. Basically, what we try to do is give the founders the basics to actually go out and apply for some of these uh, programs and pitch competitions and stuff, to try to get them some funding, some support to kind of move forward, to get them to the next milestone. Yeah, so that sounds fantastic. So So how is it working with students? Is it mostly students you work with, or been working with in the past?
Yeah. So most of
Yeah.
the people, just so that people know, what we did during COVID was we actually created an online creative community for our video game. So most indie games are made with, let's say, like 10 to 20 people. During the pandemic, we actually worked with over 200 people online, helping onboard them onto creative processes like art, animation, writing, etc., so that they could learn to create, work with us, and then also take on bigger and better jobs, but stay in our community as kind of like a side gig. Our end goal is really to replace Fiverr, because what we believe is that, like, when a client goes to hire a creative on, or like a freelancer on freelancing platforms like Fiverr or Upwork, what happens is a lot of times the client doesn't actually know how to talk to the creator, and sometimes the creators aren't the best at dealing with clients. So really, that's what we help do. We're helping creators get more clients by taking the clients through our business. We manage the clients, and all the creators have to do is focus on creating.
Okay. Okay. All righty. So I think what we would like to do now is kind of um, hear a little bit about your journey, and um, from starting your career out of high school, whatever, and just kind of walk us through what got you into what you're doing now.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was growing up, I really liked video games. I was always into video games, always played a video game. And for me, it wasn't too much about violent video games because my dad was in the military and he went to war a lot. So I was always
Okay.
playing more of like the Pokemon, or like a little bit more Breath of the Wild, where it's like puzzle or adventure, kind of like role playing games. So
Okay.
when I started heading to college, I was like, I want to learn programming. I didn't know I wanted to be a game developer, but I just knew I wanted to do programming. I got
Gotcha.
like, what was it? Android that I was a dumber in Android programming from that book, funny enough. So essentially, then
Okay.
I got into my junior year of high school. My teacher actually gave me like a Java programming book. She let me take it home. I studied Java. And then from there, I was able to get like a 5 out of 5 on now. And I
Okay.
was like, okay, I guess I'll go to Drexel. And then, is my audio coming in good?
Well, I didn't know if it was me or not. So, like, the audience, if you chime in, and it seemed like it was breaking up, but I would most time with this thing, you never know what's causing or who's causing it or whatever. But keep talking. We'll
Cool.
let you know if
Just
it
to make sure,
yeah.
I'm going to turn off my camera just so that audio can work a bit better.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So essentially, after getting a 5 out of 5 on the AP computer science exam, I was like, okay, cool. I guess I'm going to go study computer science. But then I
Okay.
looked at Drexel University because they were top 10 for game design. And I knew, like, on the side, I kind of wanted to do game design. As I got into computer science, it was just like too much focus on like computing processes and optimization for me, when I just wanted to really
Okay.
create apps. So I switched my major to interactive digital media. I learned how to create ranges of digital media, from like apps to websites to VR applications, games, mobile apps, and even augmented reality applications. So essentially, as I got towards the end of my Drexel career, I really at that point had been reading a lot of startup books. So I knew I wanted to start my own business. Got together with a few friends who was an artist and also a programmer. And then I was set to be the main like business salesperson. So that made me the CEO. And then from there, we got started. Our first year, we had $0 in revenue, pretty sure. We didn't know anybody. We were college kids. We had a dream. And then from there, we were able to meet a few people out in the Philly area. And I think in the second year, it was like $20,000 of revenue. So we were feeling pretty happy as like college students, just graduated. We were like a year, 2 years into the business. We made a clean 20K. From there, we actually got another client who ended up investing into us and became our first angel investor. We helped him
Okay.
and his son work on their like dream video game, which is called the Monochrome RPG. That's the one that later, after he invested, we partnered with Microsoft. After we partnered with Microsoft, we did a successful $15,000 Kickstarter. And then
Okay.
from there, we were able to grow our creative community from like the 10 to 20 people we already had to over 200 people. Then in the following year, now we're in like 2022. That's how we got through
Okay.
the pandemic, was the angel investment. Then as we got into 2021, we got another angel investment from the same person. And then from there, we went all in creating on Monochrome. But what we learned is that creating a video game is crazy expensive. So we
Yeah.
honestly went through a decent amount of cash, But before we ran out of runway, we decided to transition the business from only focusing on developing games to serving more clients. I think at that point we had maybe about 3 clients. And then over 2022, by the end of the year, we had like 10 clients. And what we had done, I think in 2021, believe it or not, our revenue was somewhere around like negative $100,000. But then in 2022, our revenue was actually positive $100,000. So we really turned things around through doing our client-oriented process. And it's okay that in 2021, it was negative $100,000 because investors had invested for Monochrome. We just needed to make more money so that we could push the game out. And now this year, we're focused on balancing the client work and also getting the game out the door so that then we can get revenue from the game and start creating, relatively speaking, the things we want to create and then pick and choose our clients how we want.
Gotcha. Yeah. So like so sounds like all of this stuff you're saying happened over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, so all of that's happened over the last 5 years. We are going into our 5-year anniversary this summer. Super excited.
Okay, gotcha. And so that degree you got, and so the audience, you can chime in with some questions if you like. I think some of the folks in the audience may be older like me that may need a little education on some of the terms that you're using, but the bottom line is that I was curious about that degree you got because it had so many different variety of things that you could actually create or do with it. So
yeah, that was definitely a double-edged sword when we started the business. It was like, man, we can do so many different things. But then when you go to sell stuff, it's like, if there's too many flavors in the ice cream shop, people are just going to get confused.
Okay. Gotcha. But so do you think you developed some serious skills based on that type of degree? And what did you call it again?
Yeah, so my degree very specifically was interactive digital media. I got it from Drexel University. For me, I think that degree, so going into college, I already had some programming skills. And I was already used to programming outside of school. So that I actually switched from the computing college in Drexel to the art college. So that major is under the art college. And what that did for me was it gave me a sense of like bigger creativity, more appreciation for design and aesthetics, which actually helped me be better from like programming to making things that people actually wanted to use.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, alrighty. So I definitely got that. And so so we had talked before, and you were talking how you leverage the lean startup methodology, and could you let everybody know what process you went through with that and where you were in the business?
Yeah. So essentially we had already gone through like startup school and a few other training programs as we were still just a game studio. Like we went through New Chips, Online Accelerator, Startup School, Startup Dev Kit, and then so many I can't even think of more names. Founder Institute.
Yeah, so let's hold on a second, Vince. So you're saying after going through all those programs, that's because I heard you mention at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay, and so first thing, what I want you to, I'll let you get back to the story, but so what's the difference in the lean startup stuff than what all of those different programs were teaching?
Yeah, so I feel like Lean Stack specifically. So I feel like a lot of accelerator incubator programs at a top level employ lean methodology into what they're teaching because a lot of what lean is relates to like what agile is, and that's a lot of like modern development practices and how people make products. So I think lean as a whole is kind of embedded into most startup programs. But I think what makes the lean stack very interesting. So after even going through all those programs, we were still just honestly like using investor money in order to like run the business, which isn't like totally the best feeling if your business isn't making money from that investor money. So essentially what the lean stack process did for us was it made us focus on like the one thing that arguably all businesses should be focused on, true traction, right? So we were able to go from being like investor led as far as growth to being founder-led as far as growth. I think that's an amazing transition to happen over a 1-year time frame. And then I used everything from the lean stack that was under like the first two sections. So I think it was like problem solution fit, and then
Yeah.
also like the business model design. So
Yeah.
what we really did was we went back, we did a new lean canvas, and we actually had to do two because we're a double-sided marketplace kind of startup. And yeah, so like summer last year, that was when things really started looking bad because I went out, I talked to probably like 40 plus investors, VCs. They weren't interested because we didn't have enough traction relative to how much money we had taken on. So
Yeah.
then I used the lean stack in order to go back. I was like, we're going to redo our business model design. I did the lean canvases. And then I even started building out like how we could do a customer factory, calculated out the traction roadmap. And then from there, I went on LinkedIn. I started going through interviewing people, doing problem discovery, doing solution alignment, just to make sure that one, the business model design aligned with the assumptions that we had and aligned with customers' anticipations. And then once we started seeing like a few $1,000s of traction, we started honing in on the language that was working. So there was a point, as an example, where I was like, okay, we're just going to pitch pure deviancy. And then there was a point where I was like, okay, we're going to pitch deviancy as being able to create metaverses. What we found was that people didn't understand the metaverse enough to want to spend money on it in general.
Gotcha.
So it was better to pitch pure deviancy and work our way up to metaverses while starting with like logos and website development. But we
So
went
when you use the term deviancy, what are you actually saying? Because what do you mean?
Oh, my company.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's how you say the name, deviancy.
Okay, DDNC. Okay. I'm saying what the D stood for. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, and just so you know, the letters stand for all of our names, so all of the founders' names.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, but you use an acronym and making it flow like a word.
Yeah, we're game developers. We get super meta.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, go ahead.
Awesome. And then, yeah, so basically, once we started doing like a few problem discovery and solution alignment, we started getting more customers. And then what really happened was we saw like, honest to God, real increase in our revenue. At the beginning of the year, we were probably loosely making between like $1,000 to $5,000 a month. Then at the end of last year, we had broken like 10 to 15,000 cleanly. December was our best month with over 25K. And that was, again, because we were consistently running the lean stack processes while also making sure to focus in a bit more on sales with the processes. So like if somebody had a problem that we believed we could solve, one, we would interview them about the problem. Then we'd be like, okay, we need another meeting so that we can align the solution. In between those meetings, we would do solution alignment. Then we'd come to the next meeting with a very specific pitch deck catered towards their business so that they knew how we could help them. And then if they really vibe with it, we would go in for the sell. And that has consistently been working for us. Even this year, I've ran that process a few times to get new customers. So basically, that was our customer factory. And then what happened was we were able, from the customer factory, because we had been talking to people and getting sales, we were able to create a customer forces canvas. And then once we had the customer forces canvas, we were able to be like, these are the forces that drive our customers into making a buying decision. So then all we had to do was go back to the front, start again with the lean canvas, but this time we built the lean canvas based on the customer forces document. And from there, we've just been running that same loop over and over again, getting more and more specific on our customers each and every month.
So are you doing it based on the customer, or is just in general? So that's what I'm trying to decipher from what you're saying. So when you go back through the cycle again, is that with the customer with a different problem or a similar problem?
So it should be, so if your hypothesis was right, it should be a more specific version of what you were thinking. So like as an example, in December, when we did it once, we were like, okay, we're going to target brand owners. We didn't know what kind of brand owners because we had gone from everybody in the world to brand owners. So that was already a pretty big, like getting really specific. So then as I ran the processes in January, when we were reviewing in February and redoing our business model again, we noticed that diverse brand owners with smaller brands who had day jobs actually aligned to what Deviancy offers, because essentially they're like business owners or brand owners and they have something they want to grow, but because of their day job, they're not able to spend the time that they need growing that brand or business. So that's where we can come in with a monthly subscription and help them grow their online audience and their overall brand, so that then their marketing or the marketing that we're helping them with is way easier, leading to more sales and funding for their business. Even though they don't have to spend more time, they're seeing growth in their business.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm thinking these are small businesses that you're working with?
Exactly, because big businesses, they have their own branding teams, right? So it's
Gotcha.
like if somebody probably has taken, let's not say a first round of investment, but maybe like a second round of investment, around like $2 million, they probably already have like their branding processes, their marketing processes.
Gotcha.
But if somebody's only taking like angel investment or hasn't taken angel investment, they really need help with marketing and branding so that they can resonate when they do their go-to-market strategy. And a lot of times what happens is founders are very focused on the product. They're not thinking about resonating the product with customers, which leads to bad marketing, which leads to bad sales, which leads to failure.
So let's pause for 1 second here. So on this chart here, where are your customers at?
So our customers are in the green and the orange.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and right now we are in the orange, slowly transitioning towards the blue.
Okay. And so so are you, how close are you to that 10x growth rate?
So at least for us, you can already see it, right? Because in 2021, we had negative $100,000. And then in 2022, we had positive $100,000.
Okay.
So that's
gotcha.
more than 10 times growth right there. So our goal now, it's not like we're going to 10 times our revenue. So our base goal is to 2 times, 3 times the revenue, and then take it from there. But what will happen is, because we have different tiers on our subscriptions, we might have to 10 times our customers just in order to double or triple the revenue.
Yeah. So on have you all? So I guess what I'm trying to figure out. So have you been able to? So you said a subscription. You offer your customers a subscription, and so what is your pricing like on your subscriptions?
Yeah, so we've been doing one, following the classic terminology, do things that don't scale. So it's like, if you go to our website right now, you won't really find our prices or services, because the way that we recruit customers is only directly or through referrals. If somebody reaches out, we always talk to them. But yeah, it's like if you scroll down right there, it doesn't look like a normal startup website. And that's because we're going through Ash's processes. And this year, so for our traction roadmap, we only need like 30 actual clients this year. And we're already at around 10. So we only need to grow to 20 more customers. That doesn't require huge upfront marketing. We can go out and just manually outreach to people to grow those 20 users. So essentially for us, it's a little bit more like we're still running the manual processes while we hone in on things. And we're also doing, to answer your original question, we're doing penetration-based pricing. So what we found, last year, we were doing project-based pricing. So if you wanted to hire us for something, it would be like $50 per hour. We estimate the hours and then give you the price. And then from there, we'd lower the price if your budget was lower in order to fit the work that you needed to be done. But then we would lower the amount of services that we would do also. So essentially, because we were doing all that math over and over again, and the more time you spend doing math, the less time you spend making money, what we decided to do was bulk everything into monthly packages. And actually what we noticed was, because we bulked everything into monthly packages, our clients were happier, because then they could actually budget out how much it would take to work with Deviancy. So that was part of the reason why we've seen growth. And also we're starting to get referrals, because we were like, wow, this is great. You can budget it out and they give you exactly what you need at a high quality. So our pricing is at $250. We do general branding and marketing work. At $700, and that's $250 a month. At $750 a month, we start doing like web development work, blog design, and like online shopping features. And then at $1,500 or more a month, we start doing game development, metaverse development, and more fun things.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned, that you said you were doing it manually and even on a subscription basis. So what do you think that when you get to this solution customer fit, what do you think are you going to have to do to get this 10x growth?
Yeah, so recently we spent a decent amount of money on training TBH, and we've really been going through and diving in. And what we've learned is that like the green and the orange becomes so the green is kind of simple because you're just starting on the idea, but then the
Yeah,
orange becomes super messy because you have to stay pretty flexible figuring out the customers. And then
yeah,
the blue, I would imagine the blue more as like a funnel where you're putting something messy in, and the goal of the blue is to get something clean out. So by the end
yeah.
of the blue, like for example, right now we're trying different marketing channels. In my mind, by the end of the blue, you know the specific marketing channels that work,
Gotcha.
and you just literally spend time and money on those channels because they work. You know that they grow revenue. And for
Gotcha.
us right now, LinkedIn is one of those channels. It's just
Okay.
that we can't consistently run it while also balancing our capacity. So for
Gotcha.
us, it's also going to be a matter of balancing marketing and sales with
Yeah.
supporting and making sure the customers succeed with working with us.
Gotcha. 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 And so, but I would imagine all the time you're learning, you continuously learning.
So for me at this point, I gotta admit, I'm taking info out of my brain and I'm simplifying.
Okay. Hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. So, I apologize for taking so long to put this up there, but if you could take a look at what Quinn is
Yeah, so
sharing.
Quinn was like, sounds like I started out with a hypothesis, then tested it and went back to the canvas with a more honed problem customer profile after I got some users. So yeah, essentially imagine like last summer, we were relatively speaking at like 3 total customers. Then what we did was we went out, we did a marketing campaign, and we were able to gain 2 more customers. We went out, we did another marketing campaign, but this time we tried to do something different. We got 0 customers. So then we went back and we redid the first marketing campaign. We were able to get 2 more customers, and then they started referring customers. So that's a new line of work for us. We were able to end the year with about 10 customers. And then now we were able to get about like 2 or 3 more at the start of the year. It's starting to get hard to lose. I'm starting to lose track because what we're learning is once we get customers, due to how we've set up the business, people do refer us a decent amount. So now we actually haven't been doing marketing because we started running into a capacity issue. So now what we're doing in order to manage the capacity issue is we're actually re-releasing a new product that we're planning to be more of a branding accelerator. So
Okay.
essentially, like Laura, you're running the Bit Idea Accelerator. That's focused more on business model design. But what happens a lot of time during like you actually validating the business is you have to set up like a landing page and like a form
Yeah.
so that you can actually start. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be helping people actually learn to set up a website, a form, market on like indie hackers and Reddit to find the early adopters so that they can start validating their idea and seeing traction.
Yeah. So, but the average founder may not even know about all those things you just mentioned. So, but they don't normally know about those type of sites or whatever, do they?
Exactly. So that's part of what you get from working with us, right? You're buying our expertise and all of the knowledge that comes with us. And that's also why we're putting it in more of an accelerator form, because what we've also learned is that like sucks to suck, but not a lot of people in business appreciate branding the way that like game developers appreciate branding. So what happens is sometimes, again, branding does get overlooked in business when it can be a differentiator or at least be a hook that draws people towards a sale. So what we're going to be doing is teaching people why branding is important. As an example, I did an experiment. So we created a micro tool, like a micro SaaS, just as an experiment to test out some things around indie hackers. And we named it Brandosaurus. So it's right there, it's already super brandy. You just hear the name, you think about a dinosaur, but then you're also like, why does it say brand? Then our slogan is a thesaurus of brands. People instantly like, oh, okay, I understand the use case. You're gonna have brands, you're gonna have similar and different brands. All right, cool, it's on a website. We literally put up like a coming soon page, and all we did was put it on like Indie Hackers, Reddit, and Polywork.com. And essentially, in 1 week, we were able to drive 500 visitors and over like 30 to maybe over 40 email subscribers. And that was just after like 30 minutes of web development and maybe like 2 hours of marketing. And then from there, that's for us a validation because we only want 10 emails and maybe like 100 visitors. So now we know to keep working on Brandosaurus because it exceeded our expectations on the experiment. Again, for us, this is more of like a testing brand, so that when we go back to our core product, the branding accelerator, we know how to support the people in the accelerator.
Okay. So describe what your accelerator is. Is it going to be like a month accelerator, or just give us a feel?
So you can go to the DVNC website. It's an in development webpage, but this will help me explain it.
Okay.
And then you can go to the top and you can type /
Up here?
Yep, / and then brand - and then it's going to be pre-accelerator, one word.
Okay.
I think it's going to be ERA.
E. Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, essentially, you scroll down a bit. So like the core outcomes are going to be, you're going to one, more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So you'll be building out your brand, finding your audience, and then you'll also be growing your audience. And then from there, you can see like case studies of brands that we worked on. We're going to be putting more of our business case studies on there because we've worked with businesses, as an example, like P4 Hub, Local Diverse Tech Hub, Level Up Philly, local nonprofit focused on helping kids adjust their career trajectories. And then core price is going to be one-time fee of $1,500, but you'll get $5,000 of value. If you keep scrolling down, you will start to see, bam, you'll have access to mentorship, workshops, collaborative projects, forums, a creative assistant, a creative team, learning support, post-accelerator support, and then during the 28 days, we'll help you make a brand purpose document. So this will help really hone in on the value that your brand provides, a brand visuals kit, brand identity profile, 3 social profiles aligned to your target audience as far as early adopters, audience research, a social media kit, so just to help accelerate your social media posting, brand strategy, and then brand analytics and goals. And the brand analytics and goals, that's something that you already get if you use like the Lean Stack system, because it's essentially the traction roadmap, except we help you do the math so you know how much marketing you need to do in order to get a certain amount of customers.
Gotcha. So like, so we know your background, but your 3 co-founders, what are their backgrounds?
Yeah, so my background is mainly, again, in interactive digital media. And then like over the time of the business, I had to basically get like an on the streets MBA kind of thing. And then one of my co-founders is Day Cassie. So that's the D in DVNT. He's the CTO. He went to school for computer science and he specialized in computer graphics. So he is like, even for a programmer, he leans a bit more towards like design and, you know, like shader type work. Yeah. And then our other co-founder, who's still in the business, is Nicholas Leffler. He went to school for game design and production. Most of his major was like 3D modeling, graphic design, and Photoshop work. So he helps out with a lot of the visual direction also.
Gotcha. Okay. Fantastic. Because this seems like a lot of stuff. And so in the stream of things, when you're thinking about a scalable business idea, are you literally trying to use this to get more customers or what?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you hope after a company, a person goes through this, you want to convert them to a subscription?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's up to the founder, of course, or like the person who goes through the actual accelerator, because what we're going to be doing is teaching them everything that they would need to know in order to build their brand. Let's say like you have a new startup, you create a Twitter profile tomorrow. It'll be the processes you need to know in order to grow your brand from 0 followers to 1,000 followers. Depending on the industry, that can take different amounts of times, but no matter what, the actions you're taking are pretty similar across the board between posting, liking, commenting, etc.
So I got a question. Did you have access to the traction roadmap tool before you hopped into the Lean Stack stuff?
Yeah, so I actually use it's called startupcalculator.co. And that's
Okay.
essentially a publicly available version of the traction roadmap. And I go on there like once a week just to put Deviancy's numbers to see how we're doing.
Okay, well let's take a look at that. So it's called
Startup. Yep. And then calculator.
type in startup calculator.
Yep, calculator. And then .co. No M.
Oh no, I'm so okay. Gotcha. Okay, it's actually filling it out for me. Yeah. Well, let me try. I'll get it this time. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So first off, so some of our audience is familiar with the traction roadmap. So is this pretty much the same thing, or is it a little different?
I would say it's pretty much the same thing. The inputs might be slightly different, but like what you learn is the exact same thing.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So how do you feel about, I guess you're used to using this.
So I can just give you the numbers. So for launching users, you're going to want to put 10.
Well, where am I at? I'm not
at the bottom with the sliders.
Okay, the sliders. Okay.
Yeah. So you're going to drag that to like 10.
Okay.
Yep. And then price. Oh, so to the top left, you're going to change that to month. And then you're going to change the money to USD. Awesome. And then price per month, you can put $1,000 because that's our average price per month.
And where am I looking? Where am I looking?
At the sliders.
Oh, at
second
the
slider on the left. Yep.
Okay. So how much?
$1,000 per month. So you're gonna have to hit the button to the bottom right.
The bottom right?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yep. And now in the second, you're gonna put 2,500, just so that we get some wiggle room.
Okay.
And then let me just see all the other numbers. And then for the variable cost per user, the top right one, you can put 1,000. Top right.
So this did it get it?
It won't change just yet, but if you go to the top right, you can type in the one higher, a little bit lower, right there. Yep. Type 1,000.
Okay.
And then for the bottom one, you can type in 25,000. Yep.
So this is different.
And then you can hit save. And then for like the second slider on the left, you can make that $1,000.
I got 250.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay.
So yeah, if you drag that down to like 10K, because that was like our starting cost for the year. Cool. And then fixed cost is good. Variable cost per user, you can put 200.
Right here?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely a little bit more detail.
And then on the second slider on the left, you can drag that to 1,000.
Price.
Yeah.
Per month.
And then you can see it went from death to unicorn right there. Okay. And then for monthly user growth, you can put 15%. And then we have very little churn, so you can put 2% for the churn. And then this is essentially Deviancy's traction roadmap.
Okay, so what am I looking at?
If you hover over the dots, you can see values for the numbers.
So what's the difference in these two?
The blue is money and the orange is users, customers.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and so it's not too much extra numbers, but the traction roadmap, I think, actually simplifies it even, simpler than this. But it's definitely not a bad tool. So like you um, so is there a video for this, or you just look at these numbers and you figure
all you have to do is hover over. So like right now we're in the 3rd month of the year. So if you go to the 3rd dot on the orange. So yeah, like right now we have 10 customers. So by the end of the month, we're supposed to be at 14 customers. And then if you go to like month 2. Yeah, so we only got like 1-2 new customers, so we might be at like 11 customers. So I know for month 2, that was the first month where we're slightly behind right now. So now for month 3, I need to get like 1 extra customer. But I know that because of this graph. Gotcha. And I also know not to go crazy if I only have 14 customers because of this graph.
Okay. So it's definitely a model, and that you can kind of see where you need to be, and so you literally can, set a goal at the beginning of the month to know where you need to get to, is what the idea is.
Exactly. And then like as an example, if I need like 4 customers, that depends on like the quality of the emails, but let's just say like 10% conversion rate from emails. So then I would need like 40 emails. And then let's just say 10% conversion rate from a web page. Then I would need 400 web visitors. And then let's just say, honestly, 10% from social is a bit weird. So you have to do like 1% from social. So that would probably be 40,000 impressions on social media just to get 4 customers.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So I'm trying to figure out, so where's the, okay, so this is the zero money line.
Yes.
And this is the zero customer line.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's because you can have negative money very easily in a startup.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So interesting. so let's try something really quick here. I think we got a little time. Let's see. Let's see something here.
Yeah, one thing I would like to note is that traction roadmap very much depends on your price per month and also the cost that you have per customer. So again, like it's like 14 customers, but if each customer is paying $1,000, that's like around $14,000 of MRR, which is over $100,000 if you look at ARR, annual recurring revenue.
Yeah. So it would be, you would have a direct model, right?
So for us, funny enough, we are a marketplace model. Everything I've been saying makes us seem like a direct model, but that's because I haven't talked about half the business this whole time.
Gotcha. And so at the three
we want 1 million.
At the 1 million at the 3-year point?
Yeah.
Okay. Average order, you said 1,000 or what?
Yeah, just do 1,000 for that.
Mm-hmm. Did I let's see what I did here. So percentage of traction and the referral rate, etc. It's got 10%. I can't remember what you
Oh, I see what happens. 1 second, let me think about this. Okay, so basically what's happening, we take on clients, but at the same time, to finish the client work, we have to pay creators. So it's asking us what's like the profit margin, how much does the business actually take once we subtract how much we paid the creators.
Okay, because this is a marketplace. That's
exactly.
Why.
So you can just do 25%.
Actually, I haven't did a marketplace one, so this is neat. Okay.
Okay, and then you can do 12 for that 0.
How often the buyer conducted
Yeah.
transaction?
And then you can put 2 years.
Lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay. Frequency per year?
That's interesting because we do things a bit different. I'm just going to say 12 for that one. And then you can put 4 years for that seller lifetime.
Yeah, it looks like this. Yeah, marketplace definitely is a little more complicated.
Okay, and then rate depends on the time, so that's a little iffy, but I'm going to say 15%.
Which one? What?
For buyer acquisition?
15%?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can just do the same 15% for seller. Buyer at which signups turns into. So that's more of like I'm going to say 30%. And then okay, so we actually hold back creators on purpose. So for sellers, it would only be 10%.
Okay.
Yep, so that's good.
Okay. Wow. This is a lot of work on this one.
Oh, so
What?
yeah, if you're doing a startup, definitely try to do as direct a startup as possible. When you add one other node to how you make money, it increases. It's not just a 2 times increase; it's exponential.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Referrals?
referrals, the rate at which that's interesting. 20%. And then 10% for the seller.
I'm glad we're doing this because, this is actually what you did in the other one actually is simpler than this thing. But I had no idea it was a marketplace when you were doing the other one. So
yeah, right. And then you can leave it at 10.
Okay. So
Okay.
Yeah, basically what it's saying that you only need 41 new visitors every day.
Yep.
Wow, that doesn't seem too hard.
And that's the point, right? But we made our startup like that because our monthly subscriptions, that's in the hundreds compared to some startups where their monthly subscriptions are in the tens.
Yeah. So it's So if I were you, I would definitely want to compare these two things. But it seems like what you got is working right.
Yeah, and so for me, that's why I use Startup Calculator, because definitely for how early I am, this one's a bit more advanced when you're thinking about holistic marketplace. So the numbers do come out a little bit weird, but it's also because the way that we run our marketplace, it's not like we have an Amazon type website. We do all of our marketplace work very manually, taking payments through Stripe from clients, assigning the work in Airtable to creators, and then paying the creators through PayPal. The main thing that we have is an Excel document for each of our services to make sure we're making money on each service that we do. So every time a client pays us, we have a minimum for that service, and then we have a maximum payment for the creator, so that we're always making profit no matter what the service is.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you going through that exercise with me right there. But I think one of my takeaways, from what you're saying is you're literally following the numbers and following the, doing the experiments, to kind of make sure you stay on the right track.
Yeah, so I would say it's like Ash's process totally works. You just have to definitely be super strict about how you run it and follow the steps, especially the first time you go through it. Just follow the steps. Just listen to what he's saying. After you run it the first time, you'll start getting a sense of, oh, that's what's happening. And then you just keep running it because you understand what's happening. And yeah, for us, it's really been about how do we learn to craft a business model? And it's been pretty amazing because the system of starting to craft your business model and then actually talking to customers, going back and recrafting your business model or updating your product offering based on what customers say does really lead to that growth, as long as you make sure, and this happens again through like the traction roadmap and the feasibility, desirability, viability testing, as long as you make sure that your startup from a ground level is foundationally solid in the business model design, then you'll know how to update it as you talk to customers to make more money.
Yeah, and I think what you're illustrating more than anything else is what we've been trying to tell people is that you can design your own business model to scale.
Yes. And yeah, a
like
lot of times when people start businesses, they're like, I want an investor, I want an investor, I want an investor. I think the most important thing is before you say you want an investor, you should be saying, I want customers.
Yeah. And that's that. Yeah, that's exactly right. But so a business model is it's the real deal. It's really the key is what I'm getting from what you're saying in the approach you're using.
Oh yeah, there's totally like some crazy business models when you're thinking towards like a Tesla or SpaceX kind of thing. But I definitely think for like the majority of just like businesses where people have an idea and they just want to work on like an application, the lean stack model is super straightforward once you go through it the first time. During the first time, definitely hectic, definitely lots of questions. But I do say the book Running Lean by Ash, that will really help get you through the questioning bits. And then from there, again, I sincerely believe once you have your first customer forces canvas and you've done at least 10 customer interviews, you'll start seeing the patterns that you wanted to see when you started working on your idea.
Yeah. So, okay, fine. So like from, I guess, the audience out there, anybody got any questions before we get ready to close this out? I think when you look at it's saying the founder has to really buckle down and look at these business model numbers, the traction roadmap type numbers. But and you actually gave us an additional tool to use, and so it appears that the startupcalculator.co it's not really asking you what type of business model you have. You're just putting your numbers in there based on the business model you have.
Yeah, so like one of the things you run into is like when you run a marketplace, the profit margins get a little harder because you could be paying the creators too much relative to like how much it costs to keep the marketplace open. But yeah, with Startup Calculator, it just has you focus directly on the sales. And again, in the early stages, even if you're doing a marketplace, you might be overthinking that kind of thing with the marketplace and like the double-sided stuff. So that's why I do like Startup Calculator, because it has you focusing on sales. And then what we did for our team was once we had those Startup Calculator numbers, again, I do have an Excel sheet with that marketing math where it's like, okay, if we need 4 customers, we know that we need 40 emails to get a 10% conversion rate. If we need 40 emails, we need 400 web visitors in order to get a 10% conversion rate to email. And if we need 400 website visitors, we probably honestly need 40,000 social impressions. And don't forget, impression is just somebody scrolling and seeing your thing, just to make sure that we get the 400 website visitors.
Gotcha.
And so we track that. We track those numbers on a weekly basis, basically every single week. If we don't get as many emails and visitors or out like impressions as we need, then we focus in on adjusting our marketing. If we don't get as many sales as we need, but our marketing numbers are good, we focus on improving sales the following week. And then right now, what's happening is because we focus so much on marketing and sales, we do need to start getting together more of our customer support and success processes. But it's okay because right now, secretly, we stay super high touch. So I like text message almost all of our customers, making sure that they're having a great time with DVNC.
Okay. Oh, this is really fantastic. So you got any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, I would definitely say if you don't know like lean methodology or like founder's mindset, definitely learn that stuff from the get-go, just like Lloyd's saying. And then from there, like all the lean stack stuff can really help amplify your core business idea over like a 1 month, 3 month, 9 month period so that you can really start feeling and seeing the traction. The only thing I would say is just because you have the graph doesn't mean you have the customers yet. Because sometimes when founders see the numbers, they dream about the pretty reality, and then 4 months go by and they actually haven't done any work to make the reality a reality. So make sure even after you do your traction roadmap that you're going out, you're talking to potential customers, turning them into customers, turning them into ambassadors, so that then you can get more referrals and then just keep going through that cycle. And if you make sure every week you're lining up your overarching metrics to your traction roadmap, then it will be very hard for you to fall off course. But if you're not tracking on a weekly basis, you start getting a month or two behind, you're going to start getting depressed. And then honestly, the only way to do it is just to kind of be like, okay, this is where we're at. We can only get this many customers now. So you almost have to reset your traction roadmap.
Gotcha. And one of the things for me, I was always curious about the lean startup methodology, and I didn't have a view of this chart here. And so, how do you stay, on track? How do you stay connected? And
weekly metric tracking.
Yeah, and then this idea of doing experiments or doing the 90-day things and quarterly things, and it literally that's what connects all this stuff together to keep you rolling and to keep you growing.
Yeah. Exactly. So then you have like monthly goals, quarterly goals, and then you're basically good to go because you're aligning everything up all the way down to not daily actions, but basically speaking, you know what to do in a week. So you basically know your daily actions.
Yeah. I didn't hear you use the term sprint, in all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we started the Lean Stack, we did use hardcore 2-week sprints and we did run hardcore 90-day cycles. Now what we do is we do more informal sprints. So it's not like we get people together, but we do get all of our founders together. They look at all the numbers, like at least at the start and the beginning of each month. And then from there, we really decide how we're going to tackle making the money, or if we've made enough money for the month, then we're tackling how do we do bonus marketing.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So yeah, and I guess finally for me, since you all have the process down pretty good, and so are you basically getting close to doing the same thing for your customers? I that's what I'm trying to figure out. So I know you're not doing the same thing for your customers, but I'm trying to.
Yeah. So basically, what's happening at the lightest level, what we do for our customers. $250 logos and marketing, $750 web dev, $1,500 a month, like game dev, metaverse development. That's like super top level. But what happens is a lot of times when we work with people over time, they just either start learning that they want branding and they kind of get why they want it, but they just don't have like the actual mental connections to understand the return on investment. So that's why we're starting an accelerator, because basically we'll be teaching our clients how to make a return on investment from branding work that they have done in order to align it to their business model. But a lot of times also what happens is, I gotta admit, so few businesses have a traction roadmap. We're gonna have to show at a minimum business how to make a traction roadmap so that then they can align their marketing to their traction goals and they can get that return on investment from their marketing. So we're teaching people how to reach out and find the customers for their traction roadmap.
Gotcha. And I guess your customers are people that are in the game design industry, or who's your typical customer? What business are they in?
Yeah, so like I'll mention our top 3 customers right now. They're Set VR, a virtual reality martial arts reality or application that teaches people in virtual reality how to learn like basic self-defense. So it helps improve their reaction time when punches are thrown. Essentially for them, we're doing a combination of VR development, marketing, and also business development. And then we also have like Level Up Philly, a nonprofit that's helping to improve the career trajectories of youth within the Philadelphia region. And we're helping them. We've actually done a metaverse for a VR lab that they're going to have installed. Plus now we're helping them record green screen videos so that then they can showcase those online to help get funders and donators for their nonprofit. And then our other major client is the P4 Hub. For them, they have also another VR lab that they're planning to have built, and they want to draw people in. So we're helping them, one, make a metaverse to see where things are going to go in the VR lab, and also do marketing for people who want to attend the VR lab. And then two, we're also helping them with creating more marketing and educational content to draw people into their location.
Gotcha.
And then outside of that, we do work with like some other very early startups on like smaller tiers for like, again, kind of like we have Sterling Media where we're helping them with like logo and social media marketing. And then we have two other clients I can't mention where we're helping them. They're startups and they have custom applications. So we're doing app dev for them.
Okay. Fantastic. I just want to make sure I had a clear picture and the audience had a clear picture. All righty, fantastic, man. You always hit a home run. I really appreciate your efforts and everything, and sharing all the tips. And I think this video would be a really good one to kind of dig in and dissect, because it could actually make the difference in success or failure. We'll see everyone next week, and thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Vince.
Awesome. Thank